Hey y'all, welcome back to the Big Bear Homestead, and today, let's propagate. Now, for a couple of seasons, I've been threatening and telling you guys that I was going to show you how to air layer muscadine vines. Air layering is one way to propagate your grapevines to make other plants. This year, I dropped the ball and didn't prune. So as you can see, we have a mess. If you look up underneath in the undergrowth, you'll see old vines, dead vines that aren't, growing anything. Those need to be cut away. But of course, we're not going to do that now that we're heavy into the growing part of this season. And the way that you can tell that is, one, you'll see little grapes starting to grow, and a lot of people don't know that this is how they start off. I know when I first started, I had no idea what these little growths were, and they're little itty bitty like spots, and eventually those will all turn into a cluster of grapes. So that's one thing to look for. You know that you're getting ready to start growing grapes. The other thing is, you'll see on this growth of this vine that theoretically should have been cut off or pruned back, you'll see that there is new growth. So you have like this green piece that's growing off of the old vine from last year's growth. Okay, now towards the end of the season, this green will actually turn brown. You'll start to get to where it is a vine, part of the vine. So when you're doing propagating with air layering, the very first thing you want to do is you want to identify which one of your vines produces the best. Which one is best pest tolerant, which one is the least to get disease, that does the best, possibly best drought resistant one. You want to identify what your best vine is. This one is one of my heaviest producing vines every year consistently. On the other side of that, I have a vine on the other side that every year produces nothing. It starts off with little grapes, and then the grapes die off and there's nothing all year. So we're definitely not going to propagate from that vine. So the next thing, after you've identified which one you're going to do, on that vine, you need to locate one of the vines that doesn't have grapes or flowers on it. Now, in our situation, that's going to be very difficult because we're ahead of the curve since we already had existing vines growing. When you cut back, and you can look, we have a video on how to propagate, and we'll put a card up for you to be able to see that video. You'll notice that you cut back very close to the main vine, or the main branch. So we're ahead of the curve because we already had existing vines, and the green vines are starting to grow out from that. So we're going to have to sacrifice a little bit of grape production just to be able to do this. However, I'm not concerned about it because I walked all of our vines and we have grapes growing everywhere. So we tried to pick one with the least amount, and this vine right here seems to be the best one. So what you're going to do is you're going to need a 2-liter bottle, okay? And as you can see, we cut the top off of it. We drilled holes in either side and put rope. And that will be used to hold it secure in place, because once you put everything in, it's going to have a little bit of a weight to it. So you want it to be able to anchor onto something so it doesn't fall down over time. And then on the lid, and you don't really have to do this, but if you drill a hole into the bottom of the lid, once we feed it through, we can feed the vine through again and just screw it back on. So that way none of the dirt or anything like that will fall out. So, pretty simple. Identify the vine, get your bottle ready. I'm gonna take the lid off. We'll use that in a second. And then what we're gonna do is we're going to feed this vine through the bottle, okay? I'm just going to grab it through the bottom, and you're going to pull a good portion of it out, okay? Now, since we had this new growth, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out too. And you, believe it or not, you won't do a whole lot of damage to the vine, okay? So we're going to come up a good ways onto that vine. Now, we have this new growth growing here, okay? I'm going to take it off, but I'm also going to take off the leaves that are growing right here, okay? There's some leaves in here growing. So we're going to take that one off, but we're also going to take that leaf off as well. And what you're doing is you're opening up those nodes so that the roots can grow from there, okay? So I'm going to take that off, and then I'm going to also take off this new growth here. Okay, and just let that come through the bottom. Okay, now the other thing that you'll need to do is take a utility knife. I'm going to take this back out just for a second, and right where you had the nodes, you're going to want to scrape the stem just to expose a little bit of moisture. Okay. Okay, and what you're doing is you're kind of exposing that area to encourage it to grow. Okay. All right, now we're in the home stretch. So now you feed this back through. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our lid, feed that through as well. That'll pull off those last little bit of those leaves that you have, that we've got growing. I'm going to go ahead and pull them off so I'll make it easier. Okay, and then I'm going to screw this on. Alright, and then I'm going to take some soil. Now, most people recommend using like a mixture of topsoil or like peat moss with sand and like some ground up shredded wood or mulch or something like that. We're just going to use some of the soil cube compost that we got. And so I'm gonna take some dirt and just feed that in there. And you just want to feed it all the way up to the top. Well, pretty much up to the top. And now you'll understand why you need, because once you start to feel this, I mean, it gets heavy. And you're gonna need that that rope in there to be able to secure it in place. Okay. Now the other thing with propagating like this, you definitely want to make sure that you pay attention to moisture. You want to check the moisture in this every couple of days. Okay, like maybe every other day when you walk around to do your chores, go ahead and check this to make sure that it's moist. You don't want it to be dry. Okay? And then that's pretty much it. All right? All we're going to do now is I'm going to hang it up to the pole that the vine is growing on. And in about 6 to 8 weeks, we'll check back and there should be root growth by then. Okay? And then I'll show you, we'll do a follow-up video on how that is, and then we'll show you how to separate it from the plant, and then we'll follow it to when we go to plant them. Okay, so that's pretty much how it goes. I'm really excited to see how this does. I've propagated before, but never muscadine vines. So fingers crossed that it takes. I'm really excited to see how this does. I'm also interested to see what happens as all the other growth starts going, and we'll probably do some follow-up videos. So like when we do our garden updates, definitely we'll check in on these as well to see if we've got any kind of growth. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me while we're doing this. God bless you and have a nice day.